And ladies and gentlemen, a very good evening to you. You're welcome to the American Wake. Now, I wonder how many of you know, because I had to be educated during the week, about the American Wake and what the idea was behind it. It's such a fantastic thing to have a night like tonight in Swinford as part of the Swinford 250 and more celebrations, to celebrate what was a huge part of Irish culture when we go back through the ages. We know, and I'm sure, and I'm told by the committee here, that there are so many of our diaspora with us tonight, which is absolutely phenomenal. It's great that you're here to share in what is a huge time for Swinford and has been a very special occasion. And I know it's not the only thing that's happening this weekend. Years ago, when there wasn't enough work here and the prospects for the younger generation weren't too good, and we've gone through some rough times of late as well like that in this country, if there was enough money in a family to club together to send the eldest child off to America to work, to send money back to the family. Now, it's not like now where you'd hop on a plane and look, in a few hours you can be either side. You could go from Ireland to whatever part of the States you wanted, or vice versa. Probably when those people left, it would be the last time they'd leave their own shore, their home place. But yet they were doing it for the greater good of their family. And now, generations later, we're celebrating that here tonight. What's the best way to celebrate it? With lots of our traditional music, what's traditional to us in dance, and some good old-fashioned Irish storytelling. So you're looking forward to it, ladies and gentlemen? I'll tell you, I am. And we're starting with a treat. If you have, most of you who are maybe from around the area will have seen this man in action or heard him in action. He joins us quite often on radio as well. If you haven't, you're in for a treat, guys. We're starting off with some good old-fashioned storytelling for you. Ladies and gentlemen, will you give a huge boulabus, a big round of applause to Tom Hennigan.
Well, can I just say, before I say anything at all, it was only a couple of hours ago that I was asked would I introduce this. So I had to make some notes. I can't ad-lib all the time, but I made some notes in relation to what I wanted to say about this gathering tonight. The famine changed the attitude of the Irish people to immigration. There's no doubt about that. No longer was it a question to ask to go or to stay, but rather when and how to leave. Hope was before them. There was nothing behind them. Just the misery and the hardship they were leaving behind. They had witnessed starvation, long lines of people starving, queuing for flavoured hot water that was called soup. And the most galling sight was the eviction of countless families, often with sick children, being evicted in the middle of winter. You take Mayo from 1847 to 1887, 14,500 families were evicted from County Mayo, converted into human beings, between 75 and 78,000 people. If a family could raise the money for somebody to immigrate, then that person, the oldest, let it be boy or girl, was sent to America with the full belief that all they had to do was go there and pick up the money off the street and send it home and save us all. When I was taught that in school, I thought the memories that it brought to me was what a culture change it must have been for a 15 or a 16-year-old girl or boy to get out at Ellis Island and to realize that there was no money on the street. The feelings of desolation have been deceived by their parents, who told them that there was money on the streets, but a way to live. Many of those people could not return There was no money to bring them back. Many of those people took their lives. And I can't help but think of the countless thousands of people that happened to. When a daughter went, she got the money, she got a job, and she sent that money home. That money would pay the rent here at home, and some of it would be saved and put together to eventually get the ticket for another family member to immigrate and go and join the other person. And that pattern continued right down the time till all the family eventually would be reunited in the United States. Ireland lost as many people through immigration as it did through starvation. Something like 6 million people in all. The practice of an American wake was a natural extension of Ireland's preference for the dead, watching over the dead person during the night prior to burial to prevent evil spirits entering the body. The physic vision of father and mother saying goodbye to a son or daughter, knowing they would never see that loved one ever again. Since departure was a kind of death, especially when a voyage across the ocean to America took 2 to 3 months, and the prospect of a return was beyond imagination. The American wake was a farewell goodbye by neighbours' friends who came night before departure to say their farewell. Tea, oatmeal bread, poaching, snuff, tobacco, clay pipes were all part of that goodbye. Tobacco was purchased in the town, 1 penny per finger, and the finger was the middle finger of your hand from the tip of the finger to the third knuckle. And if there were more visitors than pipes, well, the pipes were shared, were lit and handed around. Many people wouldn't have had material gains to give to anybody, but they had their good wishes. A Mickey in a store, and this is an example of one taken that I got from a book recently. A Mickey in a store made the devil run away with the roof of the house where you are not welcome in. Stories would be told of the wealth and the great country of America. Finally, at 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning, father would stand up and say, "Get up, son, and face me in a step, for likely it will be the last step we'll dance together." In the morning, Mickey will set out on his journey of searching for wealth to help his broken-hearted parents, brothers and sisters. After a breakfast of soda bread and 2 boiled eggs, it's time to go. His father hugs his son, telling him to be careful and to do his best, but most of all, be sure to go to Mass. Mother comes from the top room with a 5-naggin bottle and shakes its contents over poor Mickey. Knock holy water. Father carries his case to the step that leads down to the well. His mother wailing, the neighbours and friends standing aside to allow the departing son to bid his parents his last farewell in private. Mickey walks slowly down the boreen, eyes glued to the road that he is now leaving behind, accompanied by his 2 schoolmates. At the top of the hill, he turns to look back at Mam and Dad, Joe, Martin, Maura and Peggy, and waves goodbye. This was the end of the American wake, the closing of the coffin, and as the seconds passed, a kind of family torment webbed the air and made it hard to breathe. Gone forever.
Tom, thank you so much. Didn't I tell you were in for a treat? we were with Mickey on his journey by the end of it there. But, you know, the worst thing about that is, and, you know, we can sit here now and think, that was so long ago, and it's not. That story of immigration was so common, wasn't it? It was so many families.
It is, and it still is, really. Immigration is still rife in this region. All we have to do is look at the denuded towns and villages in our region and look at the amount of kids that are left in villages, completely dilapidated and gone. We're being robbed of our kids by politicians who have done nothing about us and just seem to let us drift away. We're completely denuded our landscape. Our schools are suffering. All of that is suffering because of immigration. And it's a famine in itself. That's the heartbreak of families. That's all we seem to be doing now, is rearing those kids and educating them to export them at a later time. I think that's a sad indictment on our system.
It absolutely is. But ladies and gentlemen, will you please put your hands together for Tom Hennigan? He's given us that flavour. Lovely to see you again, Tom, of the American Wake. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to have a little bit of entertainment for you now from the Score Group. So we're going to call on Niamh Henry, Caitlin Henry, Eugene Henry, and Aveen Brennan. Aveen is first solo on the harp, so we'll give them a second to get up and transport themselves onto stage. And I am sure we're in for a big treat here.
I'm going to play a slow air called An Buchlín Dun.
Ladies and gentlemen, when you give them another big, big round of applause, wasn't that wonderful? Well done, guys. They were absolutely phenomenal. What a way to open up the musical side of things this evening. Can I just mention, and I'll go back to our sponsors a little bit later on as well, but two of tonight's event sponsors for this specific event, the American Wake. A big thanks, obviously, to the White House, to Campbell's here for hosting us in the fantastic facility it is, and we have all of this as an addition tonight, so give them a big round of applause. It's not many gigs I go to that Breach, who booked me, rings me when I'm on my way down, what do you want for your dinner? And then when I get the dinner, I'm told, come into the kitchen and have it. You're not having it here. So I'm expecting that from here on in, it's on my rider. Thank you. And the Tara Cafe, of course, I know great Swinford people based in Castlebar. So big thanks to them. But we have lots of other sponsors. We will chat about them a little bit later on as well. But we'll keep the entertainment going for you. This song has been revived recently. It's one of my favourites, but by a kind of well-known singer called Rod Stewart, who gave a phenomenal performance of it live on stage last weekend in Cork. One of my work colleagues was at it and sent me the video, and it would bring a tear to your eye now, I have to say. But I'm expecting that to be blown away by our next performer tonight, ladies and gentlemen. Will you give a big round of applause to Orla Connolly singing Grace?
As we gathered in the chapel here in Old Kilmainham Jail, I think about these past few weeks. Oh, will they say we failed? From our school days they have told us we must yearn for liberty, but all I want in this dark place is to have you here with me. Oh, Grace, just hold me in your arms and let this moment linger. They'll take me out at dawn and I will die. With all my love, I place this wedding ring upon your finger. Oh, there won't be time to share our love, for we must say goodbye. Now I know it's hard for you, my love, to ever understand the love I bear for these brave men, my love for this dear land. But when Porrick called me to his side down in the GPO, I had to leave my own sick bed. To him I had to go. Oh, Grace, just hold me in your arms and let this moment linger. They'll take me out at dawn and I will die. With all my love, I place this wedding ring upon your finger. Oh, there won't be time to share our love, for we must say goodbye. Now as the dawn is breaking, my heart is breaking too. On this May morn as I walk out, my thoughts will be of you. And I'll write some words upon the wall so everyone will know I love so much that I could see his blood upon the rose. Oh, Grace, just hold me in your arms and let this moment linger. They'll take me out at dawn and I will die. With all my love, I place this wedding ring upon your finger. Oh, there won't be time to share our love, for we must say goodbye. Oh, there won't be time to
That was phenomenal. Thank you, Orla. Really, really beautiful. It's a beautiful song, but when it's sung with heart like that, and it quite obviously was. So will you give a big warm round of applause to Stephen MacDonald, Grace MacDonald and Breege Gleeson. Obviously, Mayo County Council and Mayo.ie hugely supportive of events like this across the county, and we're very appreciative of their support from the launch and the conception of this right throughout. Also O'Donnell's Total Health Pharmacy, Howley's Transport, Mayo Association Dublin, Season Master Double Glazing, Willie Creighton, who I met down there in the Cravo Wood Turners, and also Taste of Spice in Swinford, and Let Us Eat. Isn't that a great name? So ladies and gentlemen, give it up again, please, for Stephen, Grace and Breege, who are going to entertain us next.
Thank you very much. So we're going to start. We're going to play 2 sets for you tonight. The first is a set of jigs. What are they called? The Kilmavie jig, the Cat's Meow, and the third one is...
Granya's jig. Granya's jig.
Granya's jig. Hope you enjoy. Mike is falling down on me. Ready?
was just going to say we might swap them round, will we? Are you sure? I did try to save it in the middle, but it wasn't working for me. It's not cooperating.
Thanks very much. Just a little plug if it's okay, Breach. The weekend of the July 6th and 7th, the Connacht Fla is coming to Swinford, so we'd love to see you all there. It's a great occasion, so just a little reminder for you. You'll see plenty more music that weekend. So we're going to finish off now with a set of reels. Names are escaping me again.
Kiss the Maid Behind the Barrel, the Duke of Leinster, and Mountain Road.
Yeah. Thanks very much. Ready? Nice and lively.
You brought the house down, guys, literally. Microphones and all. We're keeping the guys on stage, and they're being joined, or they're accompanying, I should say, the Henry family with some Shannos dancing. So will you give them a big, big round of applause? This will be a big treat. Well, they ran off before we could thank them. You're a fair pair to throw a few shapes. Well done. You were brilliant. You're staying with us, ladies, I know, for our next act as well. So we have some more musical entertainment for you now. So bygone days, some musical entertainment. So it's Grace MacDonald, Breege Gleeson, and Surican Aveen Brennan back with us here on stage as well. We're, I suppose, trying to reenact what it would have been like to be in a house where they were holding this American wake, and it gives you a flavour of, you know, I suppose it's going from the lively and celebrating the more upbeat and up-tempo music in our culture to some of the bigger ballads, and I suppose some of the Irish ballads are very famous for being very emotionally evoking. So give a big round of applause to Shauna O'Rourke, Aoife Campbell and Ciara Campbell. This is their first visit to Trilogy tonight, and they're going to perform for us Isle of Hope.
On the first day of January 1892, they opened Ellis Island and they let the people through. And the first to cross that threshold of that Isle of Hope and Tears was Annie Moore from Ireland, who was all of 15 years. Isle of Hope. In a little bag she carried all her past and history, her dreams for the future in the land of liberty. And courage is the passport when your old world disappears. But there's no future in the past when you're 15 years. I love hope, I love tears, I love freedom, I love fears. But it's not the all you've left behind. That I love hunger, I love pain, you'll never see again. But the Isle of home is always on your mind. When they closed down Ellis Island in 1943, 17 million people had come there for sanctuary. In springtime when I came here and I stepped onto its piers, I thought of how it must have been when you're 15 years. I love hope, I love tears, I love freedom, I love fears. But it's not the all you've left behind. That I love hunger, I love pain, you'll never see again. But the Isle of home is always on your mind. I love hope, I love tears, I love freedom, I love fears. But it's not the all you've left behind. That I love hunger, I love pain, you'll never see again. But the Isle of home is always on your mind. But the Isle of home is always on your mind.
Guys, thank you so much. Ladies and gentlemen, Trilogy. I said to Julie, you'd be in bits listening to you, and I mean that in the best possible way. Just absolutely phenomenal talent so far. So thank you so much, guys. And that's Trilogy, Shauna, Aoife and Ciara. Now we're going to, Tom spoke in his opening kind of speech to set the scene for us of the American wake, a little bit about, how people were told when they were leaving these shores that the streets were paved with money, that you'd hop off at Ellis Island and you'd be able to go and pick up a few bob on the street and you'd be sound and sorted. And it wasn't the case, of course. So one of the songs that's synonymous with telling that story, I suppose, is The Streets of New York. Ladies and gentlemen, singing this for us, will you give a big round of applause to Nora McBurney?
I was 18 years old when I went down to Dublin with a fistful of money and a cartload of dreams. Take your time, said my father, stop rushing like hell, and remember all is not what it seems to be. For there's fellas that cut you for the coat on your back, or the watch that you got from your mother. Take your time, my young bucko, and mind yourself well, and will you give this wee note to my brother? At the time, Uncle Benji was a policeman in Brooklyn, and my father, the youngest, looked after the farm. When a phone call from America said, send the lad over, and the old fella said, sure it wouldn't do any harm. For I spent my life working this dirty old ground for a few pints of porter and the smell of a pound. And sure maybe there's something you'll learn and you'll see you can bring it back home, make it easy on me. So I landed at Kennedy and a big yellow taxi carried me and my bags through the streets and the rain. My poor heart was thumping around with excitement and I hardly even heard what the driver was saying. We came in the short part way to the flatlands of Brooklyn, to my uncle's apartment on East 53rd. I was feeling so happy, I was humming a song and I sang out as free as a bird. Well, to shorten the story, what I found out that day was that Benji got shot down in an uptown fray. And while I was flying my way to New York, poor Benji was lying in the cold city morgue. I phoned up the old fella, told him the news. I could tell he could hardly stand up in his shoes, and he wept as he told me, go ahead with the plan, and not to forget, be a proud Irish man. So I went up to Nellie's beside Fordham Road, and I started to learn about lifting the load. But the heaviest thing that I carried that year was the bittersweet thoughts of my hometown so dear. I went home that December 'cause the old fella died. Had to borrow the money from a fella on the side. And all the bright flowers and grass couldn't hide the poor wasted face of my father. I sold up the old farmyard for what it was worth, and into my bags took a handful of earth. Then I boarded a train and I caught me a plane, and I found myself back in the US again. It's been 22 years since I set foot in Dublin. My kids know to use the correct knife and fork, but I ne'er will forget the green grass and the rivers as I keep law and order on the streets of New York. La da da, la da da, la da 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 da, la 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 la, la 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 la, la 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 la, la 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 la, la 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 la, la 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 la.
Nora, thank you so much. Now, a little birdie told me Nora has become the first Irish American to join Mayo Association Dublin. You're very welcome. Says me, who's not on it, but I've been at it the last couple of years. The big banquet in Dublin, fantastic organisation. And I know Nora was the woman who organised the reunion and the gathering of all the American diaspora who are here with us this weekend. So will you give her a big boulabus? Not just known for her singing prowess. Thank you, Nora. Now, we have a music group back with us next. So we have Aoibhinn O'Rourke, Tara Kilroy, Aoife Barrett, Shauna O'Rourke, Jamie and Luke Regan, and Conal O'Rourke. So will you give them a big, big round of applause? So ladies and gentlemen, we'll get them set up here. We have quite a number on stage at the minute. So, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to move on. And our next act, I'll tell you, I was saying earlier, you know, some of the songs are they evoke an awful lot of powerful emotions. This is one that does it for me every single time. Singing She Moves Through the Fair. Will you please welcome Sinead Snee?
She stepped away from me, and this she did say, it will not be long, love, till our wedding day. She stepped away from me, and she moved through the fair, and fondly I watched her move here and move there. And then she made her way homeward with one star awake, like the swans in the evening moves over the lake. The people were saying no two were wed, but one has a sorrow that never was said. And I smiled as she passed me with her goods and her gear, and that was the last time I saw of my dear. I dreamt it last night that my young love came in. So softly she entered, her feet made no din. Then she came close beside me, and this she did say, it will not be long, love, till our wedding day.
Sinead, thank you so much. That was beautiful. Well done. Sinead Snee with us this evening as well. Now, as we said, storytelling was a big part of the American wake, and the Irish are known for telling stories. Some tall tales and some very maybe smaller tales that don't have the elaborate adds on to them that we might know of as well. But we're going to welcome our next storyteller here this evening. Ladies and gentlemen, will you welcome on stage, please, Noel McNicholas. And just while Noel is coming up to us, I will mention them again, some more of our sponsors. Kennedy's Eurospar, sponsoring the celebrations, Tony Linsky Buses and the Gateway Hotel. And of course, they're all some of our sponsors this evening. So I will let you take it away in your own time, Noel. Thank you.
My grandfather came from Lismaran, and I believe in around 1894, he tossed with his brother who would go to America. And he won the toss, so he went to America, and I'm sure there was an American wake that night that Tom referred to earlier. And anyway, he was 6 years in America, and I believe he was 1 year in Alaska, and maybe he was in the Klondike, but I never saw the money from it anyway, if he was. So he came back, and when he bought the place from the O'Connors in 1900, and hence I came many, many years later to this wonderful place, really, and a river flows through a valley there, and it's and yes, the moon shines at night, and a calm night, you can hear that river running down. And myself and my brother said it was the second fastest flowing river in Ireland until Google rumbled us many years later. So I don't think it was the second fastest flowing river in Ireland. And the river, and I'm just going to tell 3 brief stories, all true, all happened in the brief time I was there, the 18 years I was there. And really it's based on Turkey, the borders, and Kilkelly, or maybe Zestarden is thrown in maybe. But anyway, just quickly, just on where I came from, and I remember the dad got a greyhound around it must be around 1960. He got the greyhound in Kilkelly, and he said it was the best greyhound that ever came out the Meelick Road, but probably the only one, I'm thinking. But anyway, so this greyhound, anyway, and I live in Galway for many, many years now, and Galway people I always think are a bit gullible, and when they drained the Moy in 1960-ish, the greyhound and all the drained the Moy and the tributaries and the drains gone into the tributaries, and they got all silted up with silt and dirt, and the salmon came up to spawn like they did for hundreds of years. And they got stuck in the silt, some of them, but the greyhound would go down and he'd catch a salmon. So they come up to the house with a salmon. And so I was telling the Galway fellas, he became so good that you could ask him to get a cock or a hen, and he kind of believed me, I think. But anyway, on the farm we had, as every house probably had the same, they had the cows and the sheep, and we had a goose always, because my father used to eat a goose egg, and Mom used to have turkeys for the Christmas. And I never heard of anyone saying, but I was telling this old story down with lads, we were having a few drinks down at the store races many years ago, and I told them about the time I brought the hen to the cock. And you had a hen turkey, and then you'd have to bring them to a cock. And there was one back in Meelick. So Mom, whatever your mother would tell you to do, she asked you to team the river, you team the river. So she put this hen turkey into a box, and I cycled back about 2 miles. And there was an adopted girl there called Delia Crane, and she was a lovely girl. And Delia, anyway, came out, and she was a really hard worker, so she kind of threw the hen out of the box that she was in, and he got a bit disorientated, and the cock had no more interest in that hen than the man in the moon. And he walked around the hen for 10 minutes, and she sent anyway for her mother, right, and her adopted. So the mother came out and she hummed this deep hum to the cock. Nothing happened. So I brought the hen home to Mom, and I said, nothing happened, Mom. And she said, well, off with you now. She said, out to Culmore, or out that direction anyway. It's over 50 years ago, so you have to forgive me about names here. And anyway, my problem was having a hen in the back of the bike, and I was 16 and I half fancied myself, and that I had to go through the town of Swinford, right? And the damn borders, you see, could be on the prowl. And I got to the church, and I leant on the pedals, and my anxiety as I came down by the convent here, and outside the SB office here, it was just now where Shane Campbell here is the funeral home, there was a deep pothole. And I didn't see it in my anxiety, and I went out over the handlebars, and I saw the hen run up by the courthouse. And to my disgust, the borders came around the corner. And they never said much. I never heard them say much, but I'll get to them in a minute. And the kind of an old chuckle out of them, or a giggle, Well, I had to catch the hen. It was imperative to catch the hen. So when I caught him, I could have, but anyway, the nose was skint, which wasn't good for the image, and went out to Culmore, but again, the cock had no interest for whatever the reason is, right? So anyway, I brought the hen home again. I said to Mom, is this an old hen we have here, Mom, or something? Two cocks has no interest at all in the hen, right? So We took two fell up the Kelshmark Road, and I'm sure maybe people here might know who this man is now, and he had a black cock. These were white ones. And I took the hen out of the box. I know the hen was walking around, and the black cock was weighing him up, let's put it that way, right? And nothing was appearing to happen really until this guy, he had this whistle, and it was a deep, I wish I could do it now, but I can't. And it was like a baritone, and it ringed round the hills. And I say, if there was any cock in between Swinford and Kelshmark, he got turned on. But anyway, the business was done. But it didn't quite finish there, because when Mom had the turkeys at home, and they hatched out, and I forget how many was in it, but Dad had no shoes. It came to Christmas time, and that was Mom's money for Christmas. And it came to Christmas time, and he sent me over he had no shoes on the mayor, so he couldn't bring the mayor into town anyway, and he sent me over to Stardurcan, and it was referred to last night a few times, Stardurcan. And he was laughing when he gave me the ass. So I brought him over home, and we put the turkeys into the cart, put a bag over it, and we went in the bog road into town, and we came out there to O'Boyle's, and there was a shine on the road. Well, the ass wouldn't budge. He saw himself on the roads, there was a shine on it, and he wouldn't move. And Pat Croak was coming, a neighbour of ours, and we tied on the reins to his well, I'm sure there's a name for it anyway, the back of his cart anyway, and he pulled us in, but our fella, he was legs like that, he had the brakes on the whole way. And we got into the church in Swinford, and Pat Croak reared up, and take that jumper off, he said, he is my ass killed. But the problem was the turkeys, and passing down by the convent again, and Dad pulling the cart and me pushing it, right, to Johnny O'Hara's, right? But anyway, Mom had her Christmas money anyway, and so I want to mention Kilkelly, and that's where my Mom's parents came from, and I used to be sent on 2 weeks holidays every year to Kilkelly, and it was Mom often referred to Tom was in England all his life, and Agnes, she was Cox from Carabeg, and Agnes came home on holidays and met Tom, or vice versa. So I used to go for 2 weeks up to Tom and Agnes had what, in my day, there was no sweet things as such, right? And nowadays we have all the sweet things we ever want. And but Agnes had 3 lots of sweet biscuits, china cups, because she was an American. She had all these niceties. And Tom was the opposite. He was really an alcoholic, but they didn't call them alcoholics those days. And he always had the dog with him, and the dog went in. At that time, you could bring a dog. A dog would only eat now the best of food nowadays. But at that time, there was a Duffy's pub in Kilkelly, and there was bacon hanging from the ceiling. You know, there used to be a little grocery shop in the front and the pub in the back. And Tom would cut a slice off the bacon hanging from the ceiling, throw it to the dog, and the dog would eat it. And well, hence was my introduction to Zest Orange, and because Tom was a good singer, and he'd start singing, and the lads would be home from England, they'd be buying him drink, but they'd be buying me orange, and it was this Zest Orange, and it was bottled, I think, in Charlestown, but it was full of gas, you know, and well, it'd be bursting to come out every orifice when you had a few bottles of it, right? They were lovely times, they were great people. So just finally to get on to the borders. The borders. Well, I went to the college here, and there was a boarding school here in Swinford, and there was about an 8-foot wall between the convent and the boarding school, and if you put your head over the 8-foot wall, you'd be picked off by a sniper, I'd say. Probably the Reverend Mother, right? So it was a no-go area. So we used to, they'd come for a walk once a day, and there was about 60 of them, these mysterious women. I called them the Bond girls. And they were just different. And even they had this capacity, even though we'd be all outside Maud Smith's and Convy's shop and we'd be weighing them up, I think they had this capacity that they wouldn't even look at us. No matter what we did, if we stood on our head for an encore, they wouldn't look at us. So this went on, maybe 3 months passed, and eventually this day I got a bit of a wave. and all my Christmases came together. I got a wave. So I got a wave, and we started to. There was still no communication. So the only way to get through this iron curtain was to write a letter. So my cousin was a great handwriter, and I composed, and he wrote the letters. So we got through the wall into the convent with these letters, and we had this communication opened, and we had a bit of crack in it, really, in the sense that I used to get a letter back. And then we arranged to meet in the town hall in Swinford. And still I hadn't talked to this girl. Now, this maybe 3 months had passed, and there she was at the dance in the town hall in Swinford. And so I asked her to dance. That's as much as I was saying, and she nodded. So we went out dancing, right? And remember, there used to be slow tunes that time, maybe 9 minutes, right? 3 forward, 2 back, eyes semi-closed. And I think we danced to Wooden Heart or something like that, the Elvis Presley song, right? Not a word said. We used to take an odd look at each other, right? But nothing said. And I was trying to pluck up the courage, right? You know, not to take her to bed, to ask her would you have a mineral. And so, and she nodded like that, just nodded, said nothing, nodded, which she'd have the mineral. And so we went in the mineral bar, and we got this, oh geez, when I saw where we got, zest orange. No, when you're trying to be cool. And not a word said still. We sat opposite each other, a bottle of orange, 2 straws in each bottle, and we sucked and looked. I'd say for 5 minutes. And I felt this explosion building up here. The orange had to come out. And hence the image. Anyway, to cut a long story short, I lost her the night the Yanks landed on the moon. And just to briefly go back to home, and it was a place that, you know, magical in my mind, you know, and my parents, and I have a brother Billy that everybody knows Billy here, and I had a sister Anne, and mom and dad, and it was the greatest place that left a great impression in my life, you know, and I never forget them. They were great. And I used to hear the corncrake, you know, from my bedroom at night. And I remember Dad used to mow with the horses, and I remember as he mowed the field below the house, as we called it, and the corncrake ran out with the 4 chicks, you know, and times of old, and when tractors came, and that all changed. Anyway, I think I've said enough. I need to get off the stage. So thanks very much. All right.
Oh, Noel, thank you so much indeed. I'll tell you, there was a few minutes there when we were talking about the hen and the white cocks and the black cocks that I was getting very worried. But Noel, you saved it. So, guys, I want to say hello to a few people who are actually watching in online, because we're streaming this all online tonight. And I know it makes them very much feel part and parcel of what's happening here. And isn't that so special that we can do that? So I want to say hello to Fiona Evans in Scotland. Also the Kavanaghs and the O'Hagans in Chicago. And everyone watching in the 3 counties in Chicago. Hello! Give them a wave, everyone. The camera's on you. Bridge is the camera on you. So guys, stay with us. We've lots more entertainment for you. Don't go anywhere. But will you give a big round of applause to Ciara Campbell, who's back with us. And Ciara's going to dance a reel for us this time. Give her a big, big round of applause. gentlemen, singing Caledonia. Will you please welcome Shane Snee?
I'd know if you can see the changes that have come over me these last few days. I've been afraid I might drift away. I've been telling old stories, singing songs that make me think about where I come from. That's the reason why I seem so far away today. Let me tell you that I love you when I think about you all the time. Caledonia, you're calling me, now I'm going home. And if I should become a stranger, know that it would make me more than sad. Caledonia's been everything I've ever had. And I have moved and I've kept on moving, proved the points that I needed proving, lost the friends I needed losing, found others along the way. And I have kissed the ladies and left them sighing, stolen dreams, yes, there's no denying. I travel hard with my conscience flying, somewhere within the wind. Let me tell you that I love you when I think about you all the time. Caledonia, you're calling me, now I'm going home. And if I should become a stranger, know that it would make me more than sad. Caledonia's been everything I've ever had. Now I'm sitting here before a fire, the empty room and for a squire. The flames have cooled, won't get any higher. They've withered now, they've come. And with steady thinking my way is clear, and I know what I will do tomorrow. My hands are shaking, the kisses flow, and I will disappear. So let me tell you that I love you when I think about you all the time. Caledonia, you're calling me, now I'm going home. And if I should become a stranger, know that it would make me more than sad. Caledonia's been everything I've ever had.
So, ladies and gentlemen, next up we'll have Antoinette Payton, and Antoinette is going to sing for us tonight, Buchel on Airna. So, ladies and gentlemen, will you give her a big, big round of applause? Antoinette, welcome. Thank you for being with us.
Buchel on Airna nisrech and Colleen just soak. Ni yn bysbrele, thom e fins ever galore. Slum cork I game de gahir vos glanas tiron. Smaranach me basis me dar hunde me yo. Rahi me moraka jane of lana fan quel. Gone cage, gone bad, gone granning braer bilam. Adilir na grave mare de la pas mahyan. Asni molam the phone broke at Archive la blame. Buchelak bom alone archlacht mesare. Ake gemmer tegola hoven a jassa van slave. Mahal me mestor ni doher me machal. I see molam the phone broke at Archive la blame. Buchelan Airna nisvrech and Colleen just soak. Ní ihren bosbrele, Tom me faint sever galore. Adilir na grave mare di la pas machian. Smara nach me basis me dar hunde me yo.
This kind of hinterland of Swinford is incredible. The people we've had here with us tonight have absolutely blown me away. You don't see it in too many places. So will you give all of our performers tonight a big, big round of applause?